Welcome to Easy Sleep, where calm begins and your journey to restful sleep starts now. The Hidden Chains, a bedtime tale of rewiring the mind to achieve success. Introducing Alex, the dreamer, stuck in a time loop. Once upon a time, in a tiny apartment nestled high above the city, lived a young man named Alex Carter. It was late, 11:47 p.m., and while the world outside buzzed and blinked, Alex sat hunched at his cluttered desk, staring at the soft glow of his laptop screen. At 28, he had imagined a different life for himself. In his heart, success shimmered like a tapestry made of 3 precious threads. Financial freedom, so he could travel the world and care for his aging parents. Spiritual peace, a purpose bigger than his daily 9-to-5 grind. Physical vitality, energy and strength, something he hadn't felt since college. But instead of joy, Alex found himself trapped by looming deadlines, forgotten takeout containers, and long, sleepless nights. As he blinked at the screen, his eyes drifted to a sticky note on his monitor. "You're playing small." Why? He'd written it months ago during a rare moment of clarity. Now it felt like an accusation. The hidden patterns, why Alex kept failing. Though Alex had a clear vision of success, deep down, his subconscious played by very different rules. Without even realizing it, Alex had built invisible walls around himself, walls shaped by feelings of inadequacy, the not good enough script. Every time he dreamed of applying for a promotion or starting his side hustle, a little voice would whisper, "You'll just embarrass yourself." It was a voice born long ago when even his straight A's were met with, "Why not A+," from his strict father. The cost? Alex stayed stuck in a job that paid 30% less than his peers. The burnout cycle. To Alex, working hard meant sacrificing everything. 12-hour days, missed meals, cancelled plans. He believed success required suffering. The cost? He was too exhausted to take care of his body or his friendships. The approval trap. Alex said yes to everyone. Late-night favors, demanding clients, last-minute asks. Why? Because he was terrified of seeming selfish. The cost? His own dreams sat in the shadows, forgotten. The catalyst, a midnight epiphany. One stormy Thursday night, something changed. Alex's heart pounded, his hands shook. He collapsed during a Zoom meeting. In the ER, a kind nurse gave him a tiny pamphlet titled, "Your mind is a garden. What are you growing?" That night, wrapped in a blanket and surrounded by rain, Alex searched how to reprogram your mind. He found stories about neuroplasticity, limiting beliefs, habit loops, and one sentence that lit a spark inside him. You can't think your way into success. You must act your way into new thinking. Week 1. First steps. So Alex made a decision. For 90 days, he would experiment, retraining his mind and reshaping his habits. He created his own little toolkit. 1. The belief audit. Each morning, Alex wrote in his journal, "What story am I telling myself today? What proof says that story isn't true?" His breakthrough? He realized his fear of not being smart was all because of one failed math test at 14. Yet, he had taught himself to code at 20. Proof he could learn anything. 2. The 5-4-3-2-1 rule. Whenever anxiety froze him, Alex counted down from 5. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, then moved. He'd stand up, open his notebook, or send one email. The result? He finally applied for a leadership program he'd been avoiding and got accepted. 3. The boundary blueprint. He practiced saying things like, I can't take that on, but I suggest. He also blocked out time each day just for himself. Time no one else could touch. The challenge? A co-worker guilt-tripped him for saying no to a last-minute project. His hands shook, but Alex stood firm. The first victory. By day 21, small wins started to shine like stars. He asked for and received a 10% raise. He meditated for 10 minutes each morning. He swapped midnight doom scrolling for a 7-minute workout. Of course, old habits still tried to creep back in. One night, he almost slipped into an all-night work binge. But instead, he texted a friend who knew and supported the journey he was on, Mara. She replied, "Progress, not perfection. Sleep. Fight tomorrow." That night, as Alex drifted into sleep, he replayed a question his therapist had once asked. Who would you be if your past didn't control your future? For the very first time, Alex allowed himself to imagine what that would look like. He could finally envision the future self he wanted to become, and was making slow and steady progress towards that goal, but the journey was far from over. Alex awoke to the gentle patter of rain against his bedroom window. The city outside was blurred by a silver curtain, and for a moment the world seemed softer, quieter. He stretched, feeling the faint ache in his shoulders, a reminder of last night's workout. 3 weeks had passed since his collapse, and the promise he made to himself in the hospital. Each day he'd chipped away at old habits, planting new routines like fragile seedlings in the soil of his mind. But as the storm outside gathered strength, so too did the storm within. The unexpected blow. It began with a single email. The subject line, urgent, project status, made Alex's stomach twist. He clicked it open, heart thumping. Alex, the client is unhappy with the deliverables. I need your revisions by tomorrow morning. Let's discuss at 8:30. Jenna. Alex's breath caught. He'd worked for weeks on that project, pouring in late nights and missed dinners. The client's feedback, relayed through Jenna's clipped tone, felt like a slap. He could almost hear the old voice in his head. You're not good enough. You always mess up. He closed his laptop, hands trembling. The urge to curl up and disappear was overwhelming. The return of old patterns. That evening, Alex found himself pacing his apartment, phone in hand. He'd already drafted a grovelling apology to Jenna, offering to redo the entire project. No boundaries, no questions asked. He'd skipped his meditation, skipped dinner, and now stood at the edge of a familiar abyss. He caught his reflection in the window. Tired eyes, hunched shoulders, a man shrinking into himself. Is this who I want to be? He wondered. He remembered the journal on his nightstand. Reluctantly, he sat down and opened it. What story am I telling myself? That I'm a failure, that I'll never get this right. What evidence proves this story wrong? I got into the leadership program. I negotiated a raise. I've stuck to my workout routine for 3 weeks. He let the pen hover over the page, then wrote, Progress, not perfection. The call. His phone buzzed. Mara's name flashed on the screen. Hey Alex, just checking in. How's your day? He hesitated, tempted to lie, but something in Mara's voice, the warmth, the lack of judgment, made him speak honestly. I messed up at work, he admitted. The client hated my project. I feel like I'm back at square one. There was a pause. Then Mara laughed gently. You know what my grandma used to say? Seeds grow best after a storm. Maybe this is just a little rain? Alex smiled. Feels more like a hurricane. Maybe. But you're not the same person you were a month ago. What would the new Alex do? He thought about it. The old Alex would have worked all night, skipped meals, and accepted every demand, just to prove he was worthy. The new Alex, well, he wasn't sure yet, but maybe he could try something different. The choice. After hanging up, Alex made a decision. He would set a boundary. He would not work through the night. He would eat, rest, and face the problem in the morning with a clear head. He sent Jenna a brief professional reply. I'll review the feedback and have revisions ready by noon tomorrow. Let's meet at 11 to discuss next steps. Then he made himself a simple dinner, eggs and toast, and sat down to eat, resisting the urge to check his email. Later, as he lay in bed, the storm outside lulled him into a restless sleep. He dreamed of a garden, wild and tangled, with weeds choking the flowers. He knelt in the dirt, pulling at the roots, and felt the rain on his skin. Facing the storm. The next morning, Alex woke early. He brewed coffee, opened his laptop, and reviewed the client's feedback with fresh eyes. It wasn't as bad as he'd feared, mostly minor changes and a request for clearer communication. He realized he'd taken the criticism as a personal attack, when in reality it was just part of the process. He spent 3 focused hours making revisions, then sent the updated project to Jenna. At 11, they met on Zoom. Jenna's face was tired but not angry. Thanks for turning this around, Alex. The client just wants to feel heard. You did good work. Let's keep the lines open next time. Alex nodded, relief flooding him. Thank you, Jenna. I appreciate the feedback. He ended the call and sat back, heart pounding, not from anxiety, but from a strange, unfamiliar pride. Planting the seed. That evening, Alex went for a walk in the rain. The city was washed clean, puddles reflecting neon lights. He felt lighter, as if the storm had rinsed away some of the old fear. He thought about the patterns he'd been breaking, the need for approval, the fear of failure, the urge to sacrifice his well-being for work. He wasn't cured, far from it. But he was learning that success wasn't about never stumbling. It was about getting up, again and again, and choosing a different path. He returned home, made a cup of tea, and wrote in his journal, "Today, I faced the storm. I didn't run. I set a boundary, did my best, and let myself rest." Maybe that's what success looks like. One small, brave choice at a time. As he closed the journal, Alex felt a quiet certainty blooming inside him. The garden of his mind was still wild, but now he knew how to plant seeds. Tomorrow, he would water them. Alex awoke before dawn, the city still wrapped in a gentle hush. He lay in bed for a moment, listening to the slow, steady rhythm of his own breath. There was a quiet confidence in the way he greeted the day now, a sense that he was no longer at the mercy of the old patterns that once ruled him. He made coffee and opened his journal, as he did every morning. The page was blank, waiting. He wrote, "I am not who I was, but I am not yet who I will become. The first challenge." The leadership program was in full swing. Each week, Alex met with his group, sharing progress and setbacks. He was surprised by how much he enjoyed listening to others, offering advice, and sometimes just being a quiet presence. It felt good to be part of something bigger than himself. But with new growth came new challenges. At work, Alex's recent successes had not gone unnoticed. His manager called him into her office one afternoon. "Alex, you've been doing great work. I'd like you to lead the next client project." The words filled him with both excitement and dread. This was what he'd wanted, a chance to prove himself, to step up. But the old doubts crept in. What if I fail? What if I let everyone down? That night, Alex walked the city streets, letting the cool air clear his mind. He remembered a lesson from Priya, the program facilitator. Growth is uncomfortable. If you feel uneasy, you're probably on the right path. Alex decided to accept the challenge. He would lead the project. He would face his fears, not run from them. A new approach. This time, Alex did things differently. He set clear goals for the team, delegated tasks, and, most importantly, asked for help when he needed it. He made time for his health, kept up his meditation, and checked in with his accountability partners, Mara and Sam. There were setbacks, of course. A team member missed a deadline. The client changed their mind halfway through. Alex felt the old urge to take on everything himself, to work all night and fix every problem alone. But he stopped, took a breath, and remembered his new patterns. He called a team meeting, explained the situation honestly, and asked for input. To his surprise, the team responded with ideas and support. The project moved forward. The unexpected invitation. As the project neared completion, Alex received an email from Priya. Alex, I've noticed your growth and leadership in the program. I'd like to invite you to help facilitate a new group starting next month. Let's talk soon. Priya. Alex stared at the screen, heart pounding. Facilitating a group. Him? The thought was both thrilling and terrifying. He realized with a rush of gratitude that his journey was far from over. There were new skills to learn, new people to help, new fears to face. He replied to Priya, asking for more details, and closed his laptop with a smile. Planting for tomorrow. That evening, Alex met Mara and Sam for dinner at a small cafe. They shared stories of their own challenges and victories, laughing at their missteps and celebrating their progress. We're not the same people we were a few months ago, Sam said, raising her glass. Alex nodded. And we're not done yet. He thought about his garden, the one in his mind, and the one he'd started on his tiny balcony, where green shoots now pushed through the soil. Both needed tending, patience, and care. Both would keep growing, as long as he did the work. As the night deepened and the city lights flickered on, Alex felt a sense of possibility he hadn't known in years. The story wasn't finished. In fact, it was just beginning. A year had passed since Alex Carter sat in a cafe with Mara and Sam, toasting to change. The seasons had cycled, and so had he, through setbacks, small victories, and the daily work of tending his inner garden. Now, as spring sunlight streamed through his apartment windows, Alex stood on his balcony, surveying the lush greenery he'd grown. Tomatoes, herbs, and bright marigolds. The garden was a living testament to patience and care. But the real transformation had happened within. A new chapter unfolds. Alex's days looked different now. He rose early, not out of anxiety, but with anticipation. His mornings began with meditation and a walk through the city's waking streets. He still kept his journal, but the entries had shifted from self-doubt to gratitude and intention. His work life had blossomed. The project he'd led the previous year became a model for collaboration in his company. Alex's willingness to ask for help, set boundaries, and foster open communication had inspired his team. He'd been promoted, twice, and now managed a small department. The financial stress that once haunted him had eased. He'd even started saving for his parents' dream vacation. But it wasn't just about money. Alex had found a sense of purpose. Facilitating the new leadership group with Priya had opened his eyes to how much he loved helping others break through their own barriers. He'd begun speaking at local events, sharing his journey from self-sabotage to self-leadership. Each time he stood before an audience, the old fear would flicker, but it no longer controlled him. He'd learned to see nerves as excitement, proof that he was growing. The ripple effect. The changes in Alex's life rippled outward. Mara had launched her own consulting business, crediting Alex's encouragement for giving her the courage to take the leap. Sam, once paralyzed by perfectionism, had completed her first novel and started a writing group. Their friendship had deepened, rooted in mutual support and accountability. At home, Alex's relationships flourished. He visited his parents more often, no longer weighed down by guilt or resentment. They saw the difference in him, the lightness, the laughter, the way he spoke about his work and his life. He'd even started dating again, approaching relationships with openness and honesty rather than fear of rejection. Reflecting on the journey. One evening, after a long day, Alex sat on his balcony, watching the city lights flicker on. He opened his journal to a fresh page and wrote, "1 year ago, I was trapped by my own beliefs. I thought success was for other people. I thought I had to be perfect, to earn approval, to never fail. But I was wrong. Success is growth. It's the willingness to try, to stumble, to ask for help, and to keep going. I am not the product of my past. I am the architect of my future." He paused, looking at the garden around him. Every plant had once been a seed, buried in darkness, reaching for the light. He realized he was the same. The invitation. As if on cue, his phone buzzed. It was Priya. "Alex, we're launching a new leadership initiative, this time for the whole company. I'd love for you to co-lead. Let's talk soon." Alex smiled. A year ago, he would have hesitated, doubted, found reasons to say no. Now he felt only excitement. He texted back, "Count me in." Looking ahead. The journey wasn't over. There were still challenges ahead, still days when doubt would whisper. But Alex had learned to recognize those voices for what they were. Old patterns, not prophecies. He knew how to pause, reflect, and choose a different response. As he watered his garden, Alex thought about the people he'd yet to help, the projects he'd yet to start, the dreams he'd yet to chase. He felt ready. Not perfect, but ready. He closed his journal and looked out over the city with a heart full of gratitude. A gentle breeze drifted through the open window of Alex Carter's apartment, carrying with it the scent of fresh rain and blooming jasmine from the balcony garden. Alex sat at his kitchen table, a mug of tea warming his hands, and reread Priya's email for the third time. The words still felt surreal. "We're launching the company-wide leadership initiative. You'll be co-leading with me. Let's inspire real change, together." A year ago, Alex would have hesitated, worried he wasn't ready. Today, he felt a surge of purpose. He'd spent the past 12 months transforming his inner world, and now he was being asked to help others do the same. He closed his laptop and stood, stretching. The city outside was alive with possibility. Alex smiled, knowing that the work ahead would be challenging, but he was ready. The first meeting. The initiative's launch day arrived on a golden morning in late spring. Alex and Priya stood at the front of a bright conference room, facing a group of 30 employees from every corner of the company. Engineers, designers, accountants, and salespeople. Some looked eager, others skeptical, a few plainly nervous. Priya opened the session with her trademark warmth. "We're here to grow, not just as professionals, but as people. Growth is uncomfortable, but it's also powerful. We're going to challenge ourselves and each other, and we'll do it together." Alex took a deep breath and stepped forward. "I want to start by sharing a story," he said. "A year ago, I was stuck. I thought I wasn't good enough for more responsibility. I was afraid to fail, afraid to ask for help. But I learned that the only way to change is to try, even if you're scared. And I learned that success isn't about being perfect, it's about being willing to grow." He saw a few heads nod, some eyes widen in surprise. He continued, "This program is about planting seeds, new habits, new beliefs, new ways of working. Some will sprout quickly, others will take time, but if you tend your garden, it will bloom. The group settled in, and the work began. Planting new seeds. Over the following weeks, Alex and Priya guided the group through exercises and discussions. They talked about limiting beliefs and how to challenge them, about the importance of boundaries, and about the power of asking for help. They practiced giving and receiving feedback, and they set personal goals for growth. Alex watched as the group's energy shifted. At first, many were hesitant to speak up, worried about judgment. But as trust grew, people began to share their struggles and hopes. One woman, a quiet software engineer named Lena, confessed that she'd never spoken in a meeting because she feared saying the wrong thing. A sales manager, Raj, admitted he'd been micromanaging his team out of fear they'd make mistakes. Alex shared his own ongoing challenges, how he still sometimes caught himself slipping into old habits, how he'd learned to pause and choose a different response. "The work never really ends," he told them, "but that's what makes it meaningful." The group began to support each other, celebrating wins and offering encouragement after setbacks. Alex felt a deep sense of pride watching them grow, knowing he was helping to create a culture where people could be honest, vulnerable, and bold. The ripple effect. Outside of work, Alex's life was flourishing in new ways. His friendship with Mara and Sam had become a cornerstone of his support system. They met regularly to check in, share progress, and laugh about their missteps. Mara's consulting business was thriving, and Sam's writing group had grown to include 12 members. Alex's relationship with his parents had deepened. He visited often, and together they planned a summer trip to the coast, a dream he was finally able to make real for them. He'd also started seeing someone new, a kind and adventurous woman named Eleanor, who shared his love for early morning walks and late-night talks about dreams and fears. But the most profound change was internal. Alex no longer saw himself as the sum of his mistakes or limitations. He'd learned to recognize the old voices of doubt and gently set them aside. He'd learned to celebrate progress, not perfection, and to trust that growth was always possible. Facing a new challenge. 6 months into the leadership initiative, the company faced a crisis. A major client unexpectedly pulled out, leaving a gap in revenue and a wave of uncertainty. Anxiety rippled through the office, people worried about layoffs and the future of their teams. Alex felt the old fear rise in his chest. For a moment, he was tempted to retreat, to let others handle the fallout. But he remembered his commitment to lead, not just when things were easy, but when they were hard. He called an emergency meeting with his team. "I know you're all worried," he said. "I am too. But we've built something strong here, a team that trusts each other, that's willing to be honest and creative. We'll get through this together." He encouraged everyone to share ideas for new projects and clients. He listened, asked questions, and made sure every voice was heard. The team rallied, coming up with a plan to pitch new services and reach out to old contacts. Alex worked late, but he didn't do it alone. He delegated, asked for help, and made sure everyone took breaks. The company weathered the storm. They landed 2 new clients within a month, and morale rebounded. Priya pulled Alex aside one afternoon. "You've become the leader this company needed," she said. "Not because you have all the answers, but because you help others find theirs." The harvest. As autumn arrived, Alex reflected on the journey. The leadership initiative had become a cornerstone of the company's culture. Lena, once silent in meetings, now led her own team. Raj had learned to trust his employees, and their performance soared. The company was stronger, more resilient, and more united than ever. Alex's own life was richer than he'd imagined possible. He'd grown his savings, travelled with his parents, and built a relationship with Elena based on honesty and mutual support. He felt healthy, energized, and at peace. One evening, he hosted a dinner for Mara, Sam, and a few new friends from the leadership group. They sat on his balcony, surrounded by the garden he'd tended so carefully. The air was filled with laughter, the clink of glasses, and the scent of basil and mint. As the sun set, Alex raised his glass. "To growth," he said. "To the seeds we plant, to the storms we weather, and to the gardens we share." Everyone cheered, and Alex felt a deep, quiet joy. He knew there would be more challenges ahead, more fears to face, more lessons to learn. But he also knew that he was no longer alone, and that he had everything he needed to keep growing. Looking forward, later that night, after the guests had gone and the city was quiet, Alex sat in the glow of fairy lights on his balcony. He opened his journal and wrote, "This year, I learned that success isn't a finish line. It's a way of living, choosing growth, choosing courage, choosing connection. I've seen what's possible when we let go of old beliefs and step into our potential. And I know the journey isn't over. There are more seeds to plant, more people to help, more adventures to begin. I am ready." He closed the journal, feeling the gentle weight of gratitude settle over him. The garden rustled in the night breeze, and Alex smiled, knowing that the best was yet to come. The first winter frost dusted the city's rooftops as Alex Carter zipped his coat and stepped onto his balcony. The garden, once wild with summer growth, now rested in the hush of the cold season. The marigolds had faded, but the sturdy evergreens and winter herbs stood resilient, a quiet testament to endurance. Alex breathed in the crisp air, feeling the pulse of the city and his own steady heart. His life had changed in ways he'd never imagined, but as the year drew to a close, he felt a new kind of anticipation, a sense that the story was coming full circle, but also branching into something greater. A new invitation. One morning, Alex received a letter from Priya. She was stepping down from her role to start a non-profit that supported young leaders in underserved communities. Her words were warm and encouraging. "Alex, you have become more than a leader. You are a cultivator of leaders. I'd like you to take my place and guide the next generation. I know you'll help them grow as you have. With gratitude, Priya." Alex sat with the letter, letting its meaning sink in. He thought of the journey, the doubts, the setbacks, the small victories. He remembered the first time he'd spoken up in a meeting, the first time he'd set a boundary, the first time he'd helped someone else break through their own walls. He realized that every step had prepared him for this moment. Passing it on. Alex accepted Priya's offer, stepping into the role with a sense of humility and excitement. He spent the first weeks meeting with new participants, listening to their stories, and sharing his own. He saw himself in their uncertainty, their hope, their hunger for change. He introduced new workshops on resilience, self-compassion, and the power of community. He encouraged the group to form accountability partnerships, just as he had with Mara and Sam. He watched as friendships formed and confidence grew. One day, Lena, the once shy engineer, stood in front of the group and shared her story of overcoming self-doubt. Raj, now a mentor himself, led a session on trusting your team. The ripple effect of Alex's journey was visible everywhere. The final lesson. As the year turned, Alex gathered the group for a celebration in the company's rooftop garden. The city sparkled below, and laughter filled the air. Alex looked at the faces around him, some new, some familiar, and felt a surge of gratitude. He raised his glass. "When I started this journey, I thought success was something you achieved alone. But I've learned that real success is shared. It's not just about what you accomplish, but about what you help others grow." He paused, looking at the garden beds, the city lights, the people who had become his community. We are all gardeners. We plant seeds in ourselves and in each other. Sometimes we don't see the results right away. Sometimes storms come. But if we keep tending, keep believing, the garden always grows. The group toasted, and Alex felt a quiet joy settle in his chest. Coming home. That night, Alex walked home under a sky dusted with stars. He thought of his parents, now enjoying the vacation he'd given them. He thought of Mara and Sam, of Elena, of Priya, and of all the people whose lives had touched his own. He stepped onto his balcony, now bare except for a few hardy herbs. He knelt, pressing his palm to the cool earth. He knew that spring would come, that new seeds would sprout, that the work of growth was never truly finished. He opened his journal one last time and wrote, "I began this journey searching for success. I found it not in perfection or achievement, but in growth, connection, and the courage to keep going. My mind is a garden, my life is a garden, and as long as I keep planting, tending, and sharing, there will always be something beautiful to harvest." Alex closed the journal, feeling complete. He looked out over the city, the world wide and full of possibility. The story of his transformation was ending, but the story of his impact was just beginning. With a peaceful heart, Alex turned out the light, ready for whatever dawn would bring. The end. May your own garden flourish, and may you always find the courage to plant new seeds, both for yourself and for others.